Welcome to the second session of the last episode. Last week we introduced Frank Tamre, the founder of Moringa School, who clarified to us that he's since left that entity that he co-founded with Audrey. How has the tech space, the landscape changed in this country?
So from 2000 and let me say 2013 when I got into the whole tech scene, I have noticed one thing is I think we've had like phases. So the first part was awareness and hype, and that lasted for a couple of years. I mean, it's died down over the last couple of years, and now what picked up was let's have skill acquisition, and that was like around 2014, 2015. And then from last year, now it has been a focus more or less like let's build products for us as Kenyans. And so one thing that is important for us to mention also is that the tech ecosystem and the startup ecosystem here in Kenya is still very young. Very, very young. Yeah. If you compare it especially to places like Silicon Valley or even in Europe and the like, we are very, very young currently. Yeah.
So who owns these startups? Are they really Kenyan startups, Frank, that have positioned the country out there? Okay,
so if you say positioning, I guess people normally refer to this as startups that have had like a lot of money, huge amount of money, and about in millions of dollars. Yes, of course, you have a huge percentage of that number being owned by foreigners. And I'd put like a word of caution in that it's not necessarily bad. And this is where people might say in the comment section, no, that's bad. But then look at the repercussion. The repercussion for that is we have Kenyans who are working there. Yes, you might have a balance where you have like, yes, still expatriates come and work, but then you have Kenyans working there. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. The world is now a global village. I mean, we just have to compete with them here. And so if you're a Kenyan and you understand the market, please go ahead and compete. If you're saying competing on funding, there are still local companies that are being funded by foreigners. So we are no longer naive as before. In as much as it doesn't appear that we are learning as fast as people might wish, but we are learning. And so Frank will have his experience and share it with someone else, and then that person will learn. When they're doing it next, they come, Frank, by the end to do this thing, do you think this is right, this is wrong? And they get to learn from there. The other thing is I've seen more and more Kenyans are not being discouraged. So we are going to actually play in their field of, if it's funding, you're raising it in Silicon Valley, we are there. We need to be more hungry. I've seen a couple of guys who start startups, and once they make a certain amount of money, they buy a car, they move to Kilelesho or Kilimani, and then they get a plot, and the startup ends there. It's unfortunate that you start a company. I think it's unfortunate that you start a company and your target is, I want to move from Thika Road to Kilimani, and then on this BMW if you're a guy, or whatever, Mercedes or something, and then once you're done is
start looking for a job.
Just looking for a job, and it's unfortunate, by the way.
How do you then look for funding? Do you believe in we call it bootstrapping, or going for funding, or selling equity?
I'm a huge fan of bootstrap first. Bootstrapping is, the people who don't know, it's let me understand the company as an individual. Let me understand it, like let me make the money, let me understand it as I'm saving. And I have this interesting percentage of, for every money that I get into the business, a percentage goes to the cost of it, like once the profits that is, a percentage will be used, yes, to reward the owner of the company, but then there's a percentage that I have to save so that I call it like an arsenal, where once I have a fighting kit, like my company has $1 million bob just lying there that I'm not using, it's good, because then if a competitor comes in, I mean, I'll go to war with you by pricing, by advertising and stuff like that.
What is Alicamp?
So Alicamp is, I would say it's an institution, and right now I'm calling it an experiment really, where we train 4-year-olds all the way up to 17-year-olds in programming. And so we've managed to train, I think now we're probably hitting around 56 people, children that is, and so we've learned a lot over the last couple of years, where now we are able to say we can actually train young people programming, and we can have a course for 2 weeks, we can have a course for 6 months. But most of the people inside our program, we have an amazing set of parents who are willing to actually experiment and say, hey, I want to make it to learn technology. If anyone has a child right now who's anything between 4 years old to 10 years old, the world they're going to get into, or even 13 years old, the world they're getting into 4 years from now, 5 years from now is going to be different. You have no idea. They have to learn how to program.
And you've been training quite a number of Watch to in Action.
Yes.
Helping young people code. Yeah. You've handled a number of boot camps, including the ones for Konza, Technopolis. Where else are you training? Within the country and outside?
Yeah, so I mean, like outside, first of all, there's this initiative with African Girls Can Code, that is African Union, UN Women, and ITU. So we train all over Africa. So we've done Ethiopia, we've done Ethiopia a couple of times, we've done South Africa, but then the countries that we've covered is, I think it's all countries in Africa where I've trained at least someone. And then locally, right now, because of COVID, we're doing it online. And so over and above that, I think one of the things I'm really happy about is the ripple effect of some of these things. So there's so many kids that right now we are mentoring at Alicamp.
All right. So how are you coping with the COVID and the fact that you cannot physically get in touch with these early coders?
Yeah, so we do a blend. Ideally we do a blend. When we tried out the online one, we saw it was something interesting in that the kids actually were very receptive. Alicamp, we have something where our learning system is organized chaos. In that you will never come into Alicamp and see people seated and facing a lecturer. So we can be in a class, different learning things, but stuff is going on.
So Frank, how long can you keep a learner online?
It really depends, but I think you can keep them online relatively if you're teaching them a very new concept. Is we can break it down into 40 minutes, 1 hour, even 2 hours, 3 hours. Okay. Yeah.
So apart from Alicamp, what else are you up to in this town?
Yeah, so I write software. So Monday to Fridays, morning hours till like around afternoon, I write code for Snap Mobile. And so Snap Mobile it's a development shop, and we build software for amazing software for global companies, that is web and mobile. And we have different global brands that we are working with. So that's the thing, and I really love the team there. I think that's why I joined anyway. And then on top of that, I organize Android developers. So if you're an Android developer, and also Azure from Microsoft developers. So we bring them into these community meetups, and I think we'll share the link for them to find out about it. And so that's the bit that I engage myself in.
So that's Frank Tamre, a tech entrepreneur who is doing amazing things in the entrepreneurship space, especially tech space in this country. And as he's rightfully put it, if you are an app developer, get in touch with him. And of course, he's brought about a very new, interesting concept of the hustle that they go through and the challenges that they face as developers and as the tech community. We will definitely bring you that story. Thank you for joining. This is June Chepkemei Special, and my name is June Chepkemei.